I'm Dr. Brinen at Vanderbilt University Medical Center, and today I'm going to go over a nice, simple intervention that many people use, but making sure that we're using it and understanding why we're using it, how we're going to use it, and how best to use it effectively. It's called 5 senses. It's a nice, simple intervention. Let's get to it. So 5 senses is really going to be targeting some unhelpful mental processes that we can engage in. Any type of real repetitive mental activities. It might be things like worry, rumination, intrusive mental imagery, anything that's going on in our mind over and over again. 5 senses is going to help us stop and just focus on the things that are around us and hopefully interfere with that repeated mental process. So the intervention 5 senses is pretty straightforward. We're going to have the individual focus on each of their senses, mainly because you can only focus in on one thing at a time. The other benefit of 5 senses is it helps us to slow ourselves down. The instructions are pretty straightforward, okay? We're going to have somebody move through each of their senses and identify something with it, right? They're going to take time on each of the things that they look at. And they basically go from identifying 5 things, 4 things, 3 things, 2 things, 1 thing. So an example of it would be name 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can feel, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, 1 thing that you can taste. So the way that I would introduce it is this. Let's try this nice simple intervention. It's called 5 senses, right? And what we're going to do is take our time moving through each of our senses, and we're going to focus on that one sense, right? But we're going to start from 5 things that we can see, 4 things that we can feel, 3 things that we can hear, 2 things that we can smell, 1 thing that we can taste. So let's try it out, okay? So 1 thing that I can see, my water bottle, my coffee cup, my calcium chews, my tissue box, and my Lego set. Now I'm going to name 4 things that I can feel, right? I can feel the chair, I can feel the coolness of the desk, and I can feel the fabric on my shirt. Now I'm going to name 3 things I can hear. The air conditioning, the research assistants next door, and I can hear my own voice. 2 things I can smell. This is a nice cheat. My fabric softener and my coffee cup. And then 1 thing I can taste, it's the morning, so I can still taste a little bit of coffee. So you can see how you go through each of them. And what we really want to do is encourage the individual to spend time on each sense that they're going through. When you implement it, we want to explain the intervention. We want them to also increase the symptom that they're targeting. So if they're worrying, you might have them worry for 30 seconds. If they have a lot of imagery pop into their mind, they might sort of pull that image up. If they're hearing voices, they may sort of try to bring on the voices so that way you can target it. Then practice 5 senses together and then help them draw the conclusion. The idea that when you go slowly through it, it gives you more space. It can stop the worrying. Also, you might take the individual sort of out into the world, places where they may worry, where they hear voices, where they might have imagery pop up, and have them practice outside with them. And then, of course, helping them plan to use it. That means we're going to write it out. We're going to give them a reminder, have a card and a place for them to remember when to do it. So making sure that they're planning out when they're going to use it. A couple of variations that can be really helpful as we're helping somebody think about adopting 5 senses. One of them is not having somebody get so rigid on the order. The order that I provided is usually the easiest one because there's usually much more stuff to see than there is to, say, taste at a given time. But thinking about, oh, if you're at a restaurant, you'll have 5 things you can taste, right? And then 4 things that you can smell. If you're out on a walk, you might, in the forest, you might have, 5 things that you can hear. If you are in a grocery store, there may be 5 things that you can smell. So you can change up your you can change up the order based on where you're at. For some people, they find that idea of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 very overwhelming, and it just takes up too much brain juice for them. Really simple. Just have them name 1 thing they can see, 1 thing that they can hear, 1 thing they can feel, 1 thing they can smell, 1 thing they can taste. And they can always just go back through and do it again, right? Just to kind of simplify it for individuals where that's just a lot of mental effort. The other one is sort of like 5 senses incognito version. And so that's a really nice one to help people think about how could you do this if you're in a business meeting, or if you're in class, or if you're at the movies and you're finding that you're worrying and these things are coming on. And you might just sort of adjust it to doing 5 senses with, say, a cup of coffee, right? So there's things that you can do. You can feel the warmth of the cup of coffee, right? And then you can let go and feel your hands cooling down. You could do the smell. You obviously do the taste of it. Tasting that, tasting how it goes all the way down. If you've got cream, you can see how it changes, even listening to it as the cream goes in, or as you might stir your cup of coffee. So really helping somebody think about how do we do that. Same thing is true if you've got a water bottle, you can do the same thing. If you've got a soda, any of the things that you would want to do. But adjusting to use 5 senses with something in the moment, so that the individual doesn't feel like they're outing themselves as doing something to help stop this repeated mental behavior. And so they'll feel a little bit less socially awkward, and yet also stop that repeated mental behavior. So I hope that's helpful. 5 senses. I remember one of my postdocs and then who then became a colleague taught that to me. I've really loved it. I found that it's been a great little intervention to add to my toolkit. So that's the 5 senses. If it's helpful, let me know. And again, let me know if there's anything else I can help out with. So that's it for today's Clinical Bite, and have a good day, and I'll see you soon.